The Matrix of Frauds, Part 3. I call Part 3 In Your Face because of the obvious contact lens implants that are in my eyes that I did not put there intentionally. I have several doctors, several nurses, family members, good friends, a lot of other people that are very much aware that these lenses that you can see in this photograph are visible in person to the naked eye. Question that you need to ask yourself during this presentation is, what would you do if one day you realized 8 years later that you had contacts in your eyes that you did not authorize to be put there? What would you do? This whole thing starts with the beginning of the New World Order. As you can see, the people on this particular page are elements of the what are referred to as the global elite of our society, the same exact people that sold our souls, sold our secrets, and sold the United States of America to the Muslim Brotherhood for money. If you consider the amount of money that they've accumulated in the oil-rich OPEC countries over the years, it runs in the quadrillions of dollars. So they made this country and all of these people in this picture and many, 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 many more, thousands of what are called the elite leaders of our country, cheap whores to money, big money, quadrillions of dollars by comparison to the 20 trillion that we owe to those same Muslim countries. They were cheap whores. Get the point. How many zeros is a quadrillion dollars? The game of gang stalking starts by studying the habits of the victim, drugging that person with scopolamine so that they don't remember the event. You're able to stay awake during the entire situation, but you have no memory of it. Then you kidnap the person, which means physically taking them from their home to a facility where the implanting of corneal implants and the implanting of camera lenses are accomplished. Look up gang stalking and you will see what I'm talking about. It involves thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people around the planet victimizing victims to play a game, a mindless game. This is a simple presentation of what a Verichip looks like. Verichips are used for a variety of medical reasons. This one is actually what they use to chip a dog, but the method used to implant the micro robots into a human being on the open window of the eighth nerve of the brain is done in a very similar fashion. It's called voice to skull, and just like if you go to an ear doctor and get a hearing test, they put a probe on your skull to transmit sound to you to test your hearing. It's not done through your ear canal, it's done through a probe against your skull. So get the concept. Voice to skull is done through the skull bone itself. It's in the cranium. It's on the temporal bone, which lies immediately next to your brain itself. This is a little bit of an indication to you where the open window is, where the hearing nerve is, etc. This one is about what they do to improve the hearing of people with implants. It's not a presentation of what I'm actually wearing, but it does give you an idea how they use that syringe to get the micro robot to the cochlea area on the hearing nerve of the brain. Here is a picture of my eye demonstrating one of the lenses. It's not a very good picture, just one that I've chosen because it is in fact visible, and you can see how the reflection makes it very difficult to take a photographic picture of, because The reflection causes it to deflect light and makes it virtually invisible, which is the reason I did not find them for 8 years. I saw them one morning in my mirror in my bathroom when the room was dark. It's the only way I finally noticed them. Now I have them documented, fully documented. Here's a little bit about the science. Similar camera technology exists and keeps coming to the forefront of technology every week. If you're a member of any high-tech organizations, you are fully aware that these things exist. What you also might notice is that there have been a lot of spy shows and intelligence reports and movies made on the subject of people using spy cameras in their eyes in order to take pictures where nobody in the environment knows they're taking pictures. This is just one example of the kind of technology that's going on. There they are right there. That's a single shot camera that can, when you blink your eye, it transfers the picture to your cell phone by Bluetooth. Now, here's a post that I made in my own secret group on the subject of targeted individuals and human rights advocates. The key word here is targeted individuals. That's who we are. We were targeted because we were not willing to subjugate to the pressure of organized crime. In other words, we are whistleblowers that were incorruptible. I don't have to read this, but you can take the time to read it. At the time I did this, I thought that the underground nature of the that was created as a result of the collapse of the Soviet Union was the creator of these black market economies that put this technology to work. What I have since found out is that our own President Obama is a member of the Muslim Brotherhood and simply another member of that New World Order that did everything they could to sell the United States and the rest of the free world into slavery for the Muslim Brotherhood. They're also visible very clearly in this post. Now, we get into another subject, the element of gang stalking. Mark Zuckerberg has come out in many articles recently talking about mind-reading technology that can be done with the use of a device to be worn on the outside of your head that can read your thoughts. Then, if you're a member of Facebook, you can sit at your computer and talk to other people on Facebook through private messaging, similar to private video that's already available, without moving your lips, without speaking vocally. Mind to computer, computer to mind. The technology exists. Now ask yourself a question. Do you think Mark Zuckerberg is involved in the game of gang stalking? Do you believe for 1 minute that he's not culpable and liable for the games being perpetrated on Facebook on the same subject? Get real, folks. That guy's going down. We're going to make sure of it. Another element. Considering this is a satellite-based system, it's important for you to understand that with the implants, the satellite system can locate you, and they have an active denial system satellite in space that zaps you with a electromagnetic beam that makes you feel like your blood's boiling. The reports that you read about the active denial system are fake news. I've experienced it myself. I have witnessed another person experience it. It is scary. It's designed to scare the crap out of you. And it's just another element of the system designed to get you to shut the fuck up. The very nature of terrorism itself. Strike fear. Shut up. Boy, it scared me, I can tell you that. Then I realized not to fear it because it is by definition non-lethal, designed to only scare the daylights out of you. Was no fun. Now we get into current technology and the Obama administration openly admitting that they're exploring the mapping of the brain, when in fact the mapping of the brain was done by scientists 50 years ago. Wasn't until the 80s that this technology became available, and it was created as a implement and a tool, or an accessory, if you will, to be implanted into the face and ears of a super soldier to give him a competitive advantage in the field, because obviously he's communicating with other people that are the operators in the control room, and they have access to all kinds of other intelligence, and the word is intel on the battleground situation at hand, whether it's inside, outside, wherever. You can imagine the enhancements it would give a field operative, being able to transmit all of this information without speaking to and from your brain, together with the rest of what the intel is on the situation that the field operative is in. This is a ruse, fake news, because this is nothing more than Barack Obama spending a whole bunch of our money on an initiative that was already completed many years ago. Just pork. Who knows all of the cronies that got paid a big bunch of $1 million just to play games. It's all crap. Just pork. Satellite terrorism, the game. After many, many years of being tortured by these people, as this says on 7/18 of 14, on a Friday night at 9 p.m., I was the guest speaker. Brad A. Heward tells what he has found to be the truth about targeting. Well, I was still trying to figure out what was going on at the time. These people have made a game out of torture, laughing at me the whole time, making it a big joke. The people that are behind this particular organization are in fact intentionally chipped as super soldiers in order to play that element of the game, which we'll discuss in just a minute. Now, ask yourself again, what would you do? Of course, you would report it to the FBI, to the local law enforcement agencies, to the president, to the vice president, to the attorney general, to every legal organization, to an attorney, to a doctor, which is exactly what I've done. Only to be told by everyone I just mentioned that you sound like you're completely crazy, which is the nature of the game, and that's why they're all laughing at it. Funny shit, huh? So that you understand our own government's involvement in this crap, El Chapo Guzman arrived in the U.S., hearing set for Friday. This is 4 days ago. El Chapo Guzman is a rich member of organized crime, gang leader. In this particular report, they even refer to him as sort of a Robin Hood for the poor people. So the element of crime involved has made this person out to be a hero for our society. A hero. He's chipped. He was implanted intentionally, and that is the means and the mechanism behind how they were able to dig a tunnel over 1 mile long directly to the toilet in his prison cell. Pull the toilet out so that he could go down the tunnel and just walk home freely and go back to his killing spree and drug business and human slavery and human trafficking and all of the elements that those people are involved in. Our government is responsible for allowing him to escape They made it possible for him to escape. Now we have him back in custody. The question you need to ask yourself is, why isn't somebody in our law enforcement community where he's housed right now in New York City in his cell examining his eyeballs for what I find in my eyes? They are there. An MRI will also find the implants in his inner ear canal on the 8th nerve. Guarantee it. Here's a woman, wanted to play games with me, came to me asking for help. Actually had the audacity to come and ask me for help. She is another one of Leroy Guzman's family. I mention Leroy Guzman because that happens to be part of the family that's involved in my targeting. She has members of Guzman's in her friends and family list on Facebook. She pretends to be a high-powered attorney and pretends to be a victim of this. She's one of the people that I've seen zapped with the active denial system by satellite, sat there and witnessed it with my own eyeballs. She broke out in a major sweat, intentionally done by the people that are operating her system for her. She is a cheap whore because she's got money to have this done to her intentionally to play a fucking game. More evidence. Stories of whistleblowers are all over the planet. Look them up. Let's look up whistleblower stories. There are multitudes of them. They're all about crazy people that are, quote unquote, hearing voices and go to police and FBI asking for help, only to be told such things are not real or even possible. An example is a guy that was on the Dr. Phil show a couple of years ago. This show was a sick part of this game, part of the cover-up. Another guy that did a show on the subject of gang stalking was Jesse Ventura in his series called Conspiracy Theories. Dr. Robert Duncan was his primary guest host, and he is also one of the super soldiers that we can find, isolate, and look in his eyeballs and find the same lenses. And there are literally hundreds more in this country. Now, question yourself. What are the potential uses for these cameras in a criminal's eyes? Espionage? Information gathering? Boy, I can think of all kinds, and so can you, especially if you're involved in organized crime. More specifically, well-known targets are the stories of Aaron Alexis, the Navy Yard shooter, and Myron May, the FSU shooter, both of which people are only among a whole bunch of other people, and also more recent stories of people that went to the police, hearing voices, and were eventually driven crazy because they could not escape from the torture. They became convinced by the voices that they were hearing in their head of who it was that was torturing them. So they eventually went nuts and decided, in the case of Myron May, he was a devoted, devout, good Christian. So rather than taking anyone's lives, he went and shot some people that did not die in an effort to get the cops to kill him, which is referred to as suicide by cop, because he knew that if he killed somebody besides himself, and including himself, he would not go to heaven. That was his belief system. Look it up. Aaron Alexis, Myron May. The symptoms of those two people are identical. In the world of whistleblowers, in the world of targeted individuals, the discussion groups surrounding these subjects deal with every single element that I'm discussing in this presentation. They're the same. It's not theory. It's all true, folks. The reality of satellite terrorism. Here's a page that was put together, sort of an artist's rendition of how the system works. And this is what they discuss. The crime of organized gang stalking is a criminal racketeering psychological operation ran by criminal elements of the United States Air Force. They themselves call themselves OSI, organized stalking informers, when in fact they are the criminals involved in the cover-up and the activities of operating the crimes themselves. Get that clearly. Saul Alinsky philosophy is being used in our fake news today. If you read a lot of this information that you can find on the internet, you'll find that 90% of it deal with the truth and the facts about the subject, and at the end of the story, it goes clear out into science fiction and outer space because they don't want you to know the facts. In other words, everything is an inversion of the truth, or what they tell me in my ears all the time, reverse the charges. Going on everywhere. Now ask yourself a question. Did the United States of America create, finance this technology and sell it to the Muslim Brotherhood? Or are we still behind operating it in this country? Hillary and Bush and the Trilateral people and the Clintons and Obama sold us out to them everywhere else. We have no more government secrets. They sold our uranium to the Muslim Brotherhood and blamed it on Russia. Ask yourself, who's operating the system I'm being tortured by right now? Sure as hell ain't Russia. As a direct result of my targeting, I became an investigator of how the matrix of frauds was used to finance acts of terrorism in this country and around the world. So let me just read what this says to you. Brad A. Heward, a native Arizonan from Chandler, has done many years of research, including fully documenting how various federal quote-unquote free stuff programs are being used by criminals to collect large sums of money using multiple alias identities, multiple addresses, and all at the same time. In other words, multiple, and got rich doing it. And the government not only allowed it, they promoted it. Organized crime by its very nature. Some criminals actually get wealthy, make the matrix of frauds a full-time occupation. I have thousands of people documented in the matrix in Arizona and around the country. Most honest people aren't aware that a fake identity can be used to register to vote on the welfare application, which is what closes the loop on how we keep the status quo of a corrupt government in place and help Obama create his massive transfer of wealth from the middle class to the poor people that are now rich. Brad's research brought him to the conclusion that 9/11 was the beginning of a long-term plan to destroy our great country from the inside. He uses factual data from various sources of public records, creating a timeline of documented evidence that our own local, state, and federal governments are involved in what is referred to as the matrix of frauds. Ask a cop how difficult it is to prove fraud, and he'll tell you it's damn near impossible because he himself is involved in the free money frauds. He even brings in organized crime to the mix with free money and non-taxable income. There are a lot of elements of the matrix. They include life insurance, they include welfare, they include food stamps, they include child foster children care, elderly care, the Medicare, the Medicaid. If there is a government program, and that includes financing like HARP, FHA, and VA, they are being defrauded intentionally, and our government is allowing it because they are also doing it. We are at war with our own government, folks. This is the next presentation I put together for the local Tea Party groups. Call it The Matrix of Fraud, Part 2. Simple questions you need to ask yourself. What was the motive behind the war that found no weapons of mass destruction? The answer is simple. It was a ruse. It was a fraud perpetrated by the same people that knocked down the World Trade Center to create a war to get rich. Ask yourself, who got rich because of that war and the one in Afghanistan? Follow the money. You find out why they did it. They found no weapons of mass destruction. Next question. What was the motive behind the Patriot Act? The complete destructions of our rights to privacy. Are they using it? How did they create the NSA? And what does the NSA and FISA court do today? Anything? Are they telling us the truth? Why does it require WikiLeaks for us to find out what's really going on about corruption? Mr. Trump was able to get elected in spite of all of the fake news, in spite of all of the massive voter fraud, in spite of all of the corruption, in spite of the news media, in spite of all of it. So now we have a man in the White House that has the ability to do something about it. Why am I still sitting here instead of talking to him? Right. So knowledge is power, folks. Educate yourself. Look up voice to skull, remote neural monitoring, satellite terrorism, targeted individuals, and mind control. What you will find is exactly what I just told you. It's all over the internet. Facebook is clear full of it. Google groups are full of it. Yahoo groups are full of it. Twitter's full of it. It's all over. They do not discuss it in terms of the truth, but why is it being discussed rather than it being eliminated? Keep in mind what I just mentioned to you is all about what Hillary Clinton did during her campaign. Everybody knows that Trump was right about her being crooked Hillary. All of the pushback that we received from everybody else that I referred to as Obama Republicans, many of whom we have right here in Arizona, and I can name a lot of criminal names as a result of my research, they're all involved in this conspiracy. Many people are only involved in the fraud itself because of the money, but there are literally thousands and thousands of people involved in this criminal game of mind fuck. So as you Google search the subjects, keep in mind all the topics are described as truth and then deliberately misled by disinformation as to hide the facts. This is also the nature of fake news broadcasting. I can also name names about all of the people in media, all the way to the top, that I have fully documented have made themselves rich in the free money frauds. I have it very well documented. Every single thing they have done and continue to do is an inversion of the truth. In other words, a lie. In other words, a fraud, aka fake. Barack Obama's own birth certificate was proven by Joe Arpaio's people as a fake. Why is he still walking around? Follow the money. You always find the motives. Okay, the details of how the system works. The live video cameras are wirelessly connected to the implanted micro robots in the inner ear canals, at the open window, on the eighth nerve of the brain. This location allows thoughts to be transmitted by satellite to the location of the computer systems that are operated by the criminals. The thoughts are translated to speech, very similar to voice-to-text technology, to be read by the operators. No words are spoken by the victim. This is then transmitted to the internet in order for anyone that is allowed in to be a part of this mindfuck game. Why is it going on? Why is it not being stopped? As I'm sitting here at my computer writing this presentation, I am being bombarded with painful high-pitched frequency noises designed to give me the health problems that are well documented in the cases of so many targeted individuals like Myron May and Aaron Alexis. The hundreds of live voices I hear constantly have also made it a major point for me to take out aggressive actions against my friends and my family by trying to convince me who we are. In other words, that's who they want me to believe they are, so that I go kill one of them. Most common element of these people is suicide by cop, because they cannot escape the torture. This is a crime against humanity. Ask yourself, what would you do? Take your own life? Now, it is up to us. Trump got elected. I have put my application in to go to work for the new administration. I have not heard back. The end.